To start off, I'd just like to ask about what life was like in Rock Elm when you grew up there. What sort of memories do you
Well, I
have?
spent a lot of time at the Rock Elm store because my two best friends, their folks owned the store, Watkins, Jean and Janet Watkins. And we were together for 16 years, going to school and college. And at college, Jean and I slept together in the same bed. That wouldn't happen now.
What sort of things did you do for fun while living on the farm?
Well, we played all kinds of games, Annie over, kick the can, baseball, softball really. We played that at recess at school. Ride the bike.
You guys go sledding out there?
Yes, my mother and Nettie Weeks. We had a big flexible flyer sled, so we'd take it out on the highway and we'd go from my place to the farm, from the farm to down to the corner. We had one summer we borrowed Holcomb's horse. Tuesday it was called. And the girls wanted to ride it and everything. And Eldon was busy putting in the crops. And then the horse ran away. And Eldon had to stop his work and we had to find that horse. And then the neighbor, Perry, he was a horse guy. He saw us doing that and he stopped and he said, "You people don't know how to catch a horse." So all he did was got a bucket of oats and it came right to him. My job every Saturday morning was to put wood down the chute for the furnace. And then after a while they switched to coal. Well, one thing somebody asked me, what piece of furniture do you remember at the farm? And I remember a beautiful kerosene lamp. It had beautiful flowers on the base of it. And after my mother died, I looked for it for 3 months, but I couldn't find it. I asked my dad what happened to it. Oh, he said an antique dealer came around after your mother died and I sold it to him. I'm really pleased that the grandchildren like the farm.
What was the farm ringtone?
What was the
What
farm?
was the farm ring on the
Oh, long and three short.
long and three short?
Yeah. And then everybody would rubber. And a boyfriend called me up when I said, I can't hear you. And he said, well, if those rubbernecks will get off the line.
Wasn't there a story about someone who said that you were speeding?
Oh, yes, that was the neighbor, and I was rubbering. Oh, that car's going pretty fast. That must be Mary. And I had no notion to say, no, Mary's right here.
Can you tell me the exploding dresser story? Wasn't there like a dresser that blew up?
Oh, yes. When my grandmother died, they were cleaning out her house, and my mother had a dresser. And she told me to take this dresser and dump it up to behind the chicken coop. And they had a fire, so I dumped it out, and there were bullets in there, and they exploded. And I came back in the house, and I was bleeding from the face, all these little... I still have a scar here from it.
How old were you?
Oh, I was probably in the 7th, 8th grade. Fortunately, it didn't hurt my eyes.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have what's your favorite story or memory of Vernon?
Oh, he's a kind-hearted man. Uncle Arnold and Uncle Harold were quite vocal on Sundays. And it's a good thing they were all the same political party because it would get sort of noisy. My dad was a hard worker.
How about some stories of Eldon? What was your favorite memories with Eldon
Well, when we got married, I put on the ring on the wrong finger. And Eldon, let's see, he came from a big family. I remember the first time I went down there to visit his folks. His mother was talking to his sister on the telephone, and they started in English, And then they ended up in Norwegian, and I thought, well, they're talking about me now.
Could he speak Norwegian?
No, Eldon?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he couldn't speak English when he started school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He spoke Norwegian.
They had a grandma living with him. That was Julia's mother, and she came from Norway, and she talked Norwegian.
How about his love of baseball?
Oh yeah, that was sort of a rival of mine. I remember in Marshfield, he bought this big mitt. It was really big. Cost $21. I thought, boy, that really is expensive. And we were at the ball game, and he made really a good catch. And the people in back of me said, well, no wonder he caught it. Look at the size of that glove.
Do you know how he became so in love with baseball?
Well, his dad played baseball, and they played baseball in York. They had teams. Donnie and he were on teams.
What about early interactions with the Churchills? How did you guys come to meet and get to know each other?
Every Sunday we went to Grandma's house. Every Sunday.
Tradition?
Yeah, my grandmother would first furnish the potatoes and meat, and then the others would furnish the rest. And I suppose there wasn't anything else to do, really. They didn't have TV, so...
So who was all there?
Well, Churchills and Rankies.
Churchills and Rankies?
Yeah.
That's cool. Good tradition.
We were more friendly with Churchills because my mother and Aunt Lois went to school together. Aunt Lois waited a year before they took the sleigh to go to high school in Elmwood. And then Churchills, of course, lived a mile from us on the farm, so...
Can you tell me what you remember about life during World War II?
Well, I didn't know Eldon was fighting the war for me then. I guess it sort of bothered me more when Dale went to Vietnam. I was in high school when that war was on, so I guess I was sort of in dreamland or something.
Can you tell me a bit about making maple syrup in the old days?
That was hard work. We'd have to go out and gather the sap, put it in this big tank, and then take it down to the sugar shanty, and then put it in the pan and boil it till it made syrup. And I think that really what's killed my mother, because she had high blood pressure, and she went out that morning and collected sap, and then she went to Ladies' Aid, and she had a brain hemorrhage. And I think it was just from overwork.
How old is she?
61.
61. So they did that every year?
Yeah.
Sap, made maple syrup?
They ate it, yeah. They didn't sell any.
You've lived in both the city and the farm. Which
Yeah.
one do you prefer more? Which one was your favorite?
Well, we lived in White Bear for 29 years. I really hated to move there to St. Peter, but I still have attachments to the farm. I'm glad that's in the family. I'm glad Eldon bought it. So.
Glad you got to live. Can you tell me what it was like back in the days when they would do threshing?
Threshing? Oh, yeah. I remember my mother telling the story that Aunt Selma called and said, they're going to be here for another meal, and I hadn't planned on them, and I don't have anything to eat. She called Grandma, and Grandma said, well, put the potatoes on and quit your whining. I'll be down there to help you. And then I used to follow around when I came home from school. I used to watch them thrash. And then if the weather was really nice and the windmill didn't go around, that meant we'd have to carry water to the cows and water the cows in the barn. And it seemed like my dad always worked late then.
So, what was like the typical role that you did on the farm when growing up? Like, if the farmers were out threshing, what would you be doing typically?
Well, I would water the cows and milk the cows. My mother and I milked the cows when my dad wasn't there. And well, my job, I guess, the first time I earned any money was we had sheep. My dad hired me to water the sheep. And so that first money I earned, I bought a portable radio, and I used to mow the lawn. And I thought I could listen to music as I mowed the lawn. Well, the lawnmower was so loud I couldn't hear the music.
What kind of...
Seems like every year that lawn got bigger. I remember the first day I went to school. I couldn't say the word in. I said nin. And the teacher kept drilling me, and I just couldn't hear the difference, so she sat me in the corner. I sat in the corner the first day of my school.
Your family, what was the... Did they keep any like cultural traditions of like I know like the Jacobsons kept a lot of the Norwegian parts.
Well, my dad was Irish, but we never did anything about it. And my mother was German, and I guess we didn't do anything about that either.
Kilgore has like a plaid, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Plaid. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think I bought one when I was in Scotland. The plaid. I don't know where it is now, though.
So he was Irish or Scottish?
Well, he was Irish, and then during the famine they went to Wales, and then I think they went to Scotland, and then they came over to the United States. I remember I still have the skis I got. They're out in the garage. When I was in first grade, they're only about as tall as I am. And I got a top from my Uncle Arnold for my birthday, one of those spinning tops.
Yeah.
And one year I got a tool set, a little tool set. And they actually worked, and I went down to the basement and made a little house.
That's cool.
Then someone said, "You went down in that basement?"
Was that the farm basement?
Yeah.
Did you have a bunch of animals when you grew up, like cats or dogs?
Oh yeah, Terry Toon was our cat, and Sport and Buster were the dogs, and we had pet sheep. Our sheep started by Jerry Kendall, not Jerry Kendall's, Turners that lived on Jerry Kendall's place. They gave us a blind ewe that was pregnant, and then she had twins. So. Phyllis was going with Willard Holcomb then, and I went over to Holcomb's, and I was saying, oh, the folks thought Willard was so nice, and I went on and on. I told Phyllis that, and she was so mad they broke up the night before. Well, she was 5 years older than I was, so I remember she came home from the cities for one weekend, and she gave me a clarinet case for my clarinet. It was really pretty. It had, inside it had blue velvet. And
do you remember? You probably did since you bought a radio, but do you remember the old radio shows, radio dramas that used to be on back in like?
Oh yeah, 50s? Suspense. I never get to listen to it was a mystery show, and my mother would be out in the barn, and she'd come in at 6:45. Oh, you can't listen to that show, and she shut it off on me. And then there was a Lone Ranger and Tom Mix, and.
Did you like them a lot?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What is your favorite music?
Christmas music, I guess. And our church doesn't sing Christmas music till Christmas. Makes me sort of mad. I went to Sunday school. I walked with Henry Miller. He was the superintendent, and he was an older fellow, and his mother cut his hair with a bowl.
Bowl cut. sort of hobbies do you like doing? Do you enjoy?
Stained glass, woodworking. When I was in Venture out in Arizona, I took a class in stained glass. Also took woodworking. Well, I made this table here. That's when we drove. I could bring it home.
What was the happiest moment of your life?
I suppose when I got married, having children.
What was the greatest regret?
Not being kinder to my mother. I was sort of a brat in high school.
Yeah.
Orville gave my dad a 22 for his birthday. And I asked Dad if I could try it out. Yes, you can try it out, but shoot it away from the building. Go up there by the windmill. So I put a tin can on the post, and I missed the tin can, and I went through the stock tank at an angle. One hole up here and one on the bottom. And my dad never fixed it. I guess he just wanted me to study it. And then I thought, well, I can't tell my dad yet. I'll try it once more. So I aimed for an old tire, and just then my pet cat went by, and I shot my pet cat. And I ran in the house, I shot my cat. And my dad had to come out and finish the cat. That's why I don't like guns.
That's why you don't like guns.
Yeah.
Do you remember do you know the story about when Eldon returned and the dog?
Yes,
Can you
yeah.
tell that one? 'Cause I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, he was coming home from the service. He was walking down the driveway at 3 o'clock in the morning, and his dog came out and greeted him. And Dale heard that story, and he thought, well, when he came home from Vietnam, Whitey would do the same thing, greet him. Well, when Dale came home, Whitey just stayed under the table, didn't say a word, didn't bark at all.